I mean, I know why there is a difference between what men, having a higher suicide rate, because they're more likely to actually go through it and actually kill themselves. But I'm pretty sure what the attempted suicide rate for women might be higher, if not the same. But men actually, men actually die from doing it. Yeah,
I see.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
So you think the statistics might be a little bit misleading?
no, but I'm pretty sure they are different. I'm pretty sure when men go to commit suicide, they're more likely to actually kill themselves doing it.
I agree.
I feel like if it might be something to do with
higher.
the way they do it. I feel like men
Yeah.
they're more successful at dying when they try.
'Cause they
But
do
I
it
think
more
women
violent.
try to do something else. They might try and overdose, but they might throw up,
I've
or they might
read
slip.
something like men will go for a more violent method.
Yeah,
like,
yes, that's why they're more
sort
likely
of
to.
jump off a bridge, shoot yourself, whereas women might go for the more softer drug overdose or some type of thing. But
it's still. But my point still being.
No, I get it.
The question he asked, I'm starting to think like the reason that happens is because men struggle more from mental health that will
They
cause
won't
them to
talk
commit
about
suicide.
it.
And I feel like even in your answer you just gave now, you're just trying to avoid saying that a man can be a victim because you've got this idea that a man can't have a problem. Do you get what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but I don't understand the
response
question.
you gave is sort of like avoiding saying that a man can have issues.
Let me rephrase this question and make it more poignant, more to the point. What should we do about it? Like, in terms of how can we make sure that no one at this university or any other university takes their lives due to mental health? Because when you think about, let me even shift the topic slightly here. I was talking about just male suicide rates in general, but speaking about unis, I think that the uni's suicide rate compared to like in the general population is even so much higher. And then when you have yeah, because like, uni is probably the biggest test on your mental health at your given point in age. Like the stresses that you've had between the ages of 18 and 2021 are very different from like in a lot of cases from what you've had before. But I just want to I want us to kind of think of like what's the best way to make sure this stuff doesn't happen and like why it happens.
I don't know about what you just said, but I heard a story about there's a bridge where people commonly commit suicide, and most of them die.
Whereabouts?
I'll look it up or something. I can't remember. It was on Good Morning Britain. I don't know. You're asking me where it is.
Do you want like
Nah, like just curious. Like if it was like Leicester sides or like
one of
London sides.
I can't remember, but one of the. It was on Good Morning Britain. If we make a clip, I'll cut it in. But one person who tried to jump off this bridge, he jumped off the bridge. He said, in the moment that he jumped off the bridge, he immediately regretted, and they said. In reality, people that commit suicide or people that jump off that bridge specifically, before they hit the water, they suddenly start thinking like, yeah, I shouldn't have done this. Whatever issue I had, it wasn't that bad that I needed to do this. And I think you asked why it happens. I think, I'm not an expert or anything, but I think one of the issues people have is when they commit suicide is they have a belief that their problem is like they're finished. They've got no way out. They've got no other choice. They've got to face this problem that's going to destroy them, or they commit suicide. And the person that jumped off the bridge, he said in that moment, before he hit the water or after he jumped off, and he was lucky to survive, he said that he regretted it and he thought, as bad as the problem was, it was not that bad that I needed to do this. So I think if you're asking why people do that, how you help people from doing it, I think in men especially, they need to know that there's no such thing as an unsolvable problem. There's nothing that you can't come back from, or wherever the situation is. There's always There was another story I even read about a man who committed suicide, and on his death note he must have wrote that. Oh no, he made a video that he's only got £12 in his bank account. He can't feed his kids, or he can't help his kids, or that was the reason, because he felt inadequate and able to raise his family. So I think even in that situation, as sad as it was, people often need to be shown that there's practical help for you, that there's support available for you, that you can get some sort of a or to build your support network or things like that. That's what I think about.
I think this goes into actually how you grow up your kids, because I feel like girls are grown up to talk about their feelings. Like the mom will come up to them, oh, what happened? Why are you crying? Blah, blah, blah. Guys, if they're crying, it'll be like, oh, it's like, stop crying. Like, your men are grown up to kind of keep their feelings hidden or not really talk about their feelings and stuff like that, which means and they're grown to be told, oh, you're going to be the next man of the family, or you're like you're the
Even as a man
provider.
hearing that man of the house, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, but like that is how a lot of guys are growing up. So they are growing up thinking they have to be the stronghold all the time. Like whatever's going on, you keep it to yourself, you figure it out yourself. But if a girl's going through it, they're told you should talk about their feelings and stuff. And I feel like you need to kind of tell your boy, like, it's actually okay to be not okay. Like, it's actually fine, because we're all humans. You have your up days, you have your down days, but I feel like a lot of guys don't give themselves the space to feel that way. And because a lot of boys grow up that way, the friend group they have around them aren't a group that will support you. If it's very rare that a guy can say, oh, I'm actually really going through it, and the guys take it seriously and they're like, oh, like, do you want to talk about it? What can I do for you? More so it's like, oh, do you want to go out? Like, let's get drunk and move on from it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the approach that guys take to deal with mental health is very different, if they ever even come to talking about it. But a lot of the time that never even happens, because a lot of guys are told to just keep it together, do it yourself, blah, blah, blah. And it even happens to when they're so much older, because sometimes, like, when I go to the GP, like, I have male patients that come in, and a lot of them, they don't even realize they're struggling until they're talking, and they're like, we ask them, like, have you spoken to your family about it? No. Have you spoken to your parent? No one. They don't speak to anyone, but they've got it so hold up, and they're crying in the GP when they come to you, but that's because they haven't been able to speak to anyone else about it. And when you ask them why not, they're like, oh, but I'm the man of the family, I have to keep it together, like, I can't put this pressure on their wife and stuff. So I feel like you need to kind of teach your boys it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to talk to your friends, talk to your family, whatever, about those things. Do you know what I mean?
You say that, but I think, and it's good, that's how it should be. We talk about how things are in reality and versus how they should be. And we say just because things are in reality, I don't care how things are in reality, that's how it should be. But in reality, what you do often happen is if a man speaks out about issues, or he voices some inadequacy, or he asks for some help, I think especially around someone that isn't his parents, like if he often, like, say you take red pill, for example, they'll tell you don't cry in front of your wife, because in that moment that you're going to lose your wife, or if your wife doesn't want to hear you talking about you need help or crying about your problems. They want you to solve the problems, not fix them. That's actually adding to the problem. What people don't realize is in most situations, people expect men to be perfect and have everything put together. And if at any moment they're not, or they come on some kind of I need help energy, that's actually, the man doesn't ask for help because he knows the outcome is not going to be different. And that's the reality, even though it shouldn't be like that. That's actually the reality.
I don't actually agree with you. I feel like this is a narrative that men have built for themselves. No, genuinely, okay?
No.
Because I can literally get you. If we do like a consensus and ask girls, would you want your guy to come to you and actually be vulnerable, be emotional? I'm sure, like, the majority, 80-90% will be like, yes. A lot of guys don't do that. If you ask a lot of guys...
Well, I've spoken to women. Let me land before I let you talk again. I've spoken to women who have said they broke up with their boyfriend and their partner, and they cited he wasn't a man, he didn't have money,
he cried too much.
I've heard women who said this,
gave me the ick.
Yeah, they've said, not even just that, but they'll say, like, I didn't feel like he was a man, he wasn't masculine, or he asked me to pay for something one time. Even we've got a friend, and one of the reasons that he broke up with his girlfriend is because they went on a trip once and he paid like a few £1,000s. He just asked to split the bill one time. She wouldn't stop talking about that for like a few months. So you say it's a narrative men have built, but I've heard it from a lot of men in their experience. But go on, what did you want to say, bro?
I wanted to say, like, as controversial as this may sound, I don't really like believe what a lot of women say when it comes to like a man's emotions and what they perceive about a man's emotion, because a woman will say like, oh, I would like it if my man was vulnerable to me, he cried if he opened up to me and all of that. But then when you actually ask the guys, like, how was your girl taking it, what she said about it and stuff like that, a lot of the guys themselves will cite exactly what you kind of said. She doesn't like it when, or she wouldn't like it if I did that, and and when you ask about the causes for breakups and everything like that, it comes to that conclusion that when a man, like, it's just facts, like when a man is like overly emotional, like it just is probably less attractive in that sense, because a man is probably better at regulating his emotions. Is probably just seen as more desirable, and that's a harsh fact. And I feel like men have to accept that to an extent, but also not internalize it too much to the point where they don't voice anything at all. Because, like, let's say, I don't know, I had a problem with my exams. I failed my exam. Like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna go to my girl now and cry and be like, oh, I'm gonna fail everything? Why did I even do this degree? I'm so worthless, and just kind of like beg sympathy in that way. Like, I think men need to realize that there's a difference between saying, I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed, and I think I'm struggling a bit. Let's try and work through this together, rather than just like
But that's not asking for help, bro.
emotional
No, okay.
dumping.
The thing is, what you...
I think I'm basically
I
saying
have something
there's
to say
a,
about this.
let me finish. There's the last thing I want to say is that there's a mature way for men to speak about their feelings, and then there's another one where I guess it just isn't the best.
Okay, I have something to say
but
about
I get what
this.
you're saying, but what you've just said is a man can't voice himself or express his emotions, so he needs to put it in a way that will be palatable for his partner because the woman won't like it. That's what you've said.
That is what you've said.
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to say about this? Because I have
No,
something
you
to
go,
say
you
about
go.
what you guys. No, like, do you have anything more to add about like guys can't in girls, like they don't like it, anything else?
Yeah, I do agree. I do think, like you said, if you ask like 100 women, like, do you want your guy to be more vulnerable? I do think, like 8 of them would say, yeah, I do want that.
10 of them will say
but
that.
then if you, a lot of them, most of them.
If you ask them directly, they will
Yeah,
say.
most of them will say, yeah,
What
I
they-
want
what
that.
they'll
all
say
of
will
them
say
will
Let me
what they
finish,
do.
let me finish.
100 out of 100 will say it, but what they do is different.
No.
That's
Let's
what I'm
speak.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you ask 100 women, I think 80 of them would be like, yeah, I want him to be more vulnerable. But then if you ask those 80 of them after a guy was vulnerable with them, did you enjoy it? Would you want that again? They'd be like, no, I didn't really like it. Maybe I could put up with it, for a bit, but I wouldn't put up with it for a long term. Do you know what I'm saying? And do you know what I'm saying? Have you been in that situation before? Have you been with a guy that's been vulnerable and you enjoyed it? Or
Yeah, I have. When that's happened with me, I'm like, I appreciate this because you feel comfortable enough with me to be open and say, this is what I'm struggling with. And now this is what I was going to get into, right? You guys said a lot of like couples break up because like, oh, the guy was too emotional, whatever. Now, let's take 100 couples, the reason why they broke up. What do you think is going to be more of the reason? The guy was too emotional or lack of communication from a guy? Genuinely, like, what do you think is going to be the more reason why the couples broke up?
oh,
Is it lack of
First of all-
communication from the boy or the boy was too emotional? What do you think is going
Well,
to
lack
be?
of